Hello, everyone. Welcome to my first ever podcast. My name is Meg, and I currently have a YouTube channel, a Instagram, and a TikTok, all under the name of Meg Joy Smith. But I thought I'd start a podcast. I don't know, it's something I've wanted to do for ages, and yeah, I haven't even thought of it. I'm recording this and I haven't even thought of a name for it yet. So whether I'm even going to post this, I'm not sure. But yeah, I really want to start a podcast. I think it's a nice way to kind of bring a little bit more information to everybody. I want to be doing a podcast and focusing again on like the yoga, similar to my YouTube. But I have so many friends in the beauty therapy and health and wellness field that I kind of wanted a space and a place where I can bring those people potentially onto this podcast, give a little bit more information. I'm one of these people who drives really long distances quite a lot for work, and I often stick on a podcast as well. So I thought, yeah, maybe bring a podcast. You guys can listen to my voice even more. If you are a fan of my YouTube channel, then at least you've got somewhere else where you can listen to me as well. So, yeah, that's what I'm hoping to be bringing forward, and this is my first podcast. Hi, my name is Meg, and you are listening to the Wellness Musings with Meg podcast. I am a fully qualified beautician and yoga teacher who has studied and worked in health and wellness since 2017. I have been obsessed with wellness my entire life and have always wanted to share my passions more. If you love health, wellness, and yoga and want to learn more, this podcast is for you. I will be bringing you all things wellness, from diet and lifestyle to beauty tips and tricks, and of course, yoga as well. So grab yourself a green tea and find a tranquil spot, and let's jump in. So I guess today I will take you through a little bit about me, about my life, what brought me to this place. I'll try not to make it too long, and I'll try not to too much actually, which I think I've already done. It's really weird when you're doing a podcast. You don't really know, you can't edit things, I don't think, as easily. I'm very new to all of this. So I guess I'll just start from the beginning. I am 24 years old currently, and this is being recorded in 2024. So, yes, 24 years old. I have been interested in beauty literally from the second I even knew it was a thing. I was that child that used to steal their mum's makeup and steal like hair masks, face masks. I can remember my mum telling me that she'd taken me to her friend's house who had OCD, and I got into my mum's makeup bag and got red lipstick everywhere. And I was like two years old at the time. I was so young. So yeah, I've always been fascinated by health and beauty, wellness, and I was kind of that sort of prima donna child. I wanted everything. I wanted like the nicest shampoos I could have. And I guess I was quite lucky in some ways that my mum wasn't interested in all of that sort of stuff. So she put her foot down quite a lot. Um, I used to do things like, I can remember wanting, my mum used to buy shampoo that was really, really, really cheap, like 50p shampoo. And I can remember being bought a book which was like my Bible growing up, and that was written by someone who worked in the beauty therapy industry. And yeah, in that book it says that like buying cheap shampoo, the ingredients are really similar to washing up liquid. And so I was determined for my mum to like upgrade to Tresemme or Pantene or something like that. And so I can remember creating this whole document and PowerPoint about how to, like, why I should be having this better shampoo and this better conditioner. So I was always like researching, interested. And even from about the age of 7, I was interested in the ingredients that went into products. And again, because I came from a family that my mum didn't, just buy me everything I wanted, which I look back now and I'm extremely grateful and blessed for. But back then, because, my friends might be using, I mean, back then it was bio oil. Bio oil was like the big thing. And it was only like £7, but I was only about maybe 10 at the time. And my mum was like, no, you don't need it. Like, stop stop nagging. And so I started using things that I found in the kitchen and creating my own products. So, like making face masks with things like natural yogurt, banana. I used to put like olive oil on my skin and things like that. So, I did research into it, and that then led me down a path into being interested in what ingredients are in skincare. And that then made me realize how many chemicals are in skincare. And yeah, that's where my love of natural beauty products came from. And my whole life I've only really ever used natural products. I have extremely sensitive skin anyway. Always kind of suffered with eczema and things like that. So um yeah, I've always had to use the sort of more gentle stuff anyway. But even from about the age of sort of 10, I used to kind of, whenever I was having a bath or like doing a wee on the toilet or anything like that, I would sit with a bottle and I would like read the back of the bottles and read what was in the ingredients that were in there. And it took a little while, but I sort of taught myself, and I did the research as well, but I taught myself which products are like what ingredients are harmful and what needs to be in there and why. And yeah, I found it extremely interesting, and that sort of grew on and on and on from there. And then I went to college and became a beautician. Um, and or did my beauty therapy course, and I absolutely loved it. I don't think I realized when I was sort of, what, 15, when you go to college? I can't really remember. Yeah, it's about 15, 16. I don't think I realized what a beautician was. I was very naive and I just thought beauticians were these girls that were very stupid and, only cared about the way they looked and didn't really have any depth to it. I could not have been more wrong. And in fact, the only reason I went into beauty therapy was because I originally wanted to be a dancer and a dance teacher. And when I applied, I didn't get the place that I wanted to. So my dad said, look, why don't you've always been interested in beauty? Why don't you become a beautician or learn about the beauty therapy side of it? You'll always have a job. And then next year you can apply for dance again. So that's the whole reason why I applied to do beauty therapy. It'd always been a hobby, but I didn't realize that the job a beautician has is the job that it is. So I can remember my first day, I was literally like Hermione Granger. I sat there, and because without realizing it, as a child, I was addicted to Pinterest. I was addicted to Instagram, like, and all of the things I enjoyed and I liked, and I sort of was coming up on my feeds for Pinterest and Instagram was basically everything they teach you in first level of beauty school anyway. So I was obsessed. I'd always wanted to be a model as well. And when you go down that route, like a lot of people who I follow on TikTok and things like that now who are going into modeling school, what they teach you in modeling school, there's so many things that I'm like, you learn that in beauty therapy. So I'd kind of learned so much. I knew all the answers. I fell in love with it. And I couldn't have been more wrong about what the beauty industry is. I mean, you do have to be really quite smart and on it to be a beautician. Obviously, once you are qualified, you don't necessarily have to continue to learn and to grow. And every beautician is going to be different. But I mean, beauty therapy can open some really advanced doors. You can go into aesthetics. I know that's not going to stay around forever. I think they're changing the law on being able to do Botox and fillers as a beautician, but you know, you could initially do that from beauty therapy. You can go in to be an esthetician. I mean, there's so many things you can do. So yeah, it was I just absolutely loved it. I fell into it and fell into it really, really well. And I loved the 2 years so much. And then my second job that I had, so in my first year of college, I was actually working for a terminally ill cancer patient. And this was one of the most like life-changing experiences, and it threw absolutely everything on its head for me as working with this cancer patient. So this lady had been diagnosed with terminal cancer. And bless her, she was basically just sent home to pass away. And she was given this book called The Gerson Therapy. And the Gerson Therapy is just a break. Basically, you completely change your entire life and you take every single toxin that you physically can out of your life so that your body spends less time fighting toxins that are coming into the body and more time fighting the cancer. That's an extremely simplified version of what the Gerson therapy is. But this meant that for me, like, she hired me to make all of her juices. So she was juicing loads. I think there was something like 7 or 8 juices a day, certain supplements, and they were being taken at certain times. There was so many things. I think at one point I might do a podcast episode on the Gerson therapy because it's absolutely fascinating. And for me, someone who had been so interested in like the raw natural side of beauty therapy and having natural skincare, that was so like mind blowing to me that all of a sudden it's not just what you put on your skin, it's what you put into your body. So that job for me kind of like just, it pushed those two together. When you're at beauty school, they say, having a healthy diet, drinking plenty of water, exercising, not smoking, it's all going to help. But it's so emphasized on the product side of it that it doesn't quite gel as much as it should, I think. How important that lifestyle is. And I often say to my clients now, when they come for facials or they come and they ask me, what's the first thing I should do about skincare? And I'm always like, look, you could spend hundreds and thousands of pounds on the best skincare, but if your diet, your lifestyle is not at the point it needs to be, it's completely pointless. If you're smoking, 40 cigarettes a day, you could literally buy a magical elixir. You could spend 200-300 pounds on an elixir gel that you can put on your face or an oil. But if you're smoking 40 cigarettes a day, that is going to make that, it's just going to be complete pointless. It's going to be void. So that for me completely flipped the whole beauty therapy side on its head a little bit. And I was like, wow, okay, so we need to delve in a bit deeper. And I always, when I then went into my first job in a spa as a beautician, that for me just kind of like emphasized, and all my clients and everything, I had a completely different view on beauty therapy to what a lot of other beauticians had. And I never wanted to do the job to make money. I wanted to do the job because I truly loved it. And yes, I worked as a beautician in a spa. I massively specialized in massage. I love massaging. I think it's just amazing. It's one of the best things you can do. And I definitely love like the sports massage and the kind of deep tissue side as well. I trained in Thai massage. So I did quite a lot of the more kind of boho, Eastern medicine kind of side of beauty therapy. I sort of merged the two together and I absolutely loved it. And then I went self employed from there. And again, just carried on as I was, but instead of working for a company, worked for myself, and I absolutely loved it. And then my aunt said to me one day, oh, so her partner was, he owned a dojang, so he was a taekwondo teacher. He had his own taekwondo like school thing, and she had trained as a yoga teacher to help the students become a bit more flexible in their taekwondo classes. And she was like, hey, I can't do this every single week, would you like to train to be a yoga teacher, and yeah, learn how to do yoga and then teach it? So that's actually how I became a yoga teacher. It wasn't something I'd spent my whole life like planning or wanting to do forever. It was something that kind of very gratefully just happened to fall into my life. And so I said yes. And I actually only did a 30-hour course type thing. It was called Gravity Yoga. So it's very similar to like Hatha yoga or yin yoga, even, where you just are in a position for like a couple of minutes. It's all very flexibility based, gravity yoga is. So it was very like calming. And this course was very asana, so the physical side of yoga. It was all kind of asana and physically based, rather than going into the philosophy side. And in fact, at that point, I didn't even know the philosophy of yoga even existed. So I trained and I went in and, did it, and I, enjoyed teaching it. But I think back then I hadn't really realized my passion for yoga. I was just kind of doing it because I'd been a dancer before, so I'd always wanted to do kind of that side of things, the dance teacher. And I was like, oh, it's not dance teaching, but it's teaching and it's physical activity, and I enjoyed doing it. And I didn't really earn much from it again, but and it was only really friends and family that came. But I did really enjoy teaching it, and I loved and now I look back, it gave me a really good grounding for teaching yoga. And then so I'd been to a few yoga classes before this, but I went to my first, what I would say, a proper challenging yoga class, the right one for me. I finally found the right one for me. That's the right way to say this. So I'd been to other classes, and I think because of my dancing background, I was naturally quite flexible, and naturally quite strong. And a lot of the classes I was going to were very like the demographic was not me. The demographic was more, it was a very calming class, easier stretches. It was more for sort of maybe women who are middle-aged, menopausal, probably have children, don't do much exercise. It was more of like an escapism for them kind of class, rather than what I think I needed, which is like a challenge physically, a challenge mentally. It's not to say I didn't enjoy those classes, but it just didn't fully satisfy me. And anyway, eventually went and found this class and my now yoga teacher, and absolutely fell in love with it. So this was a vinyasa class, and my teacher is absolutely insane. She is so fantastic, so talented, and just a fantastic teacher. I've met quite a few teachers, and she just brings this element of challenge, but yet kind of the way she describes her classes. For me, I fell into the classes and I absolutely loved it. I just became obsessed. I think I was going like 2-3 times a week to her classes. And because of how good she was as a teacher, she taught me how to teach better. So I went from feeling very comfortable in like a yin yoga like asana class. But as time went on, and now I go very much more into that vinyasa side. So instead of just doing a pose and stopping, and I love the flow aspect of the classes and creating the sequences. And yeah, so that's how I ended up becoming a yoga teacher. And from there, I just grew and grew and grew. Lot of podcasts that kind of came into my life, and actually, podcasts is where I then realized the philosophy side of yoga and more of the history. There's a podcast called Let's Talk Yoga for anyone who is interested in learning philosophy. And it is absolutely fantastic. I think I only listened to it because I was like, oh, I'm driving a long drive and I'd like to strengthen my knowledge. Let's find a yoga podcast. And hadn't even known about the philosophy side. And this podcast just like absolutely blew my mind. I was like, wait, what? It's not just movement? Wow. So I kind of just became a bit obsessive from there and did more training and learnt more and more and more. Yoga is a fantastic thing. And again, that just kind of tied the knot into the whole of what I'd been kind of working on my whole life, because you can't, in my opinion, just focus on one thing. Like self-care, self-wellness, self-help isn't just what you eat or what you put on your skin. It is a combination of everything. And I think yoga is pretty much wellness at the highest form, really. If you're properly learning and practicing yoga in all of the aspects, you can't really do more than that, because to be doing yoga in all of those aspects, you have to be having a good diet and being grateful and meditating and obviously moving your body and, all these, excuse me, all these things. You can't just, you can obviously just practice one bit of it, but if you're doing yoga properly, you have to do everything. So that's me, that's my career, that's my job, that's where I've come from. That's how I got to where I am now. I wanted to start my YouTube channel years ago. In fact, I wanted to start my YouTube channel, and I wish I had. If I had one regret, which you shouldn't have, but if I had one regret, it would be that I started my YouTube channel when I was, 12, 13 in my mum's kitchen making products. And at that point, there really wasn't much about natural skincare then. And I think I would have been, if I'd put stuff out then, I would have been kind of pioneering the clean beauty, I would have been a big influence on that potentially. And I wish I had put stuff out there. I wish I had been more confident. And yeah, really just gone for it. And then, again, when I then started learning about the cancer side of things and learning about the Gerson therapy, and then what things you should, your diet, and going more into that wellness side, if I'd documented the whole thing, it would have been a really interesting ride, controversial, which I think for me at 15 or 13, 15, 18, I just was petrified to put myself out there onto the internet and be completely ridiculed, basically. But, if I knew then what I knew now, how big clean beauty was going to be, how much people were going to care about wellness, and how kind of popular, and it has become like the trendy thing to become to really care about yourself. Girls are always on Instagram and on TikTok and on YouTube or whatever, and they are promoting skincare and following skincare. Really young girls are getting into skincare now, which I won't go into my opinion on that, but it's that younger and younger girls are getting interested in that, and they're getting interested in things like going to the gym, drinking plenty of water, diet. I see loads of TikToks on, yes, obviously there's a lot of unhealthy things out there, but there's salad recipes, and the access is there as well, I think, which is really nice. Social media can be really negative, but looking at the positives, there is a lot of really positive things out there. And teaching what when I was 12, 13 years old, things that would take me ages and hours to figure out and to learn and to get inspired by, people have that access, there, it's right there. As soon as they want it, they can just get it. And that's brilliant, that's amazing. But if I'd known then what I knew now, I definitely should have started my YouTube channel a lot earlier. But yeah, so now I've obviously started, and I absolutely love my YouTube channel. It's my baby. It might not be very big, and I might not have, millions of subscribers or even thousands yet of subscribers. But for me, for that place, I absolutely love it. And yeah, and then I thought, let's go for it. Let's start a podcast. Let's dive straight in and just do it and see what happens. My little sister was with me yesterday, and she said to me, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time to plant a tree is now. So this is me planting my tree. And who knows, in 20 years' time, I might still be here doing a podcast. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. And yeah, hopefully come back for my second podcast. And let's just see how we go, see where we end up, and enjoy the ride. Thanks. Bye.